This is Dear Strategy, episode 107. Welcome to another episode of Dear Strategy, where we answer all of your questions about product and business strategy. Real questions from real people in real companies, just like yours. Welcome back, strategy creators, to another great episode. This is episode 107. And we're going to go to a typical strategy question, questions about terminology and tools and resources and things like that, like we've done for the last 100 episodes before we started this new alternating format where we change up a little bit and put some strategy stories in here and there. This one's going to be more a traditional question. So we'll get to that in just a minute. Before we do, just a shout out for the company that sponsors this show, the company I work for and founded, Strategy Generation Company. We offer training and tools and resources for strategy creators for companies all over the world. And so if you are a strategy creator, maybe you're a product manager, a marketing manager, a business leader, maybe you are in learning and development and you want to get some training for people within your company, go ahead and check us out. We are at strategygeneration.com. You'll find all the different classes that we offer there. Feel free to drop us a line using the contact link, and we'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have. So with that said, let's go ahead and get right to today's question. It's a really interesting one. And to be honest, one that I get a lot. I've gotten this question many times. As I've said on this show, some of the questions that we feature are, real questions that are, well, they're all real questions, but some of them are submitted questions by an individual. Some of them are kind of consolidated questions based on some of the things that we get and hear and experiences that people have had and so forth. So this one, I guess, falls into that latter category a little bit because this is a question that we've gotten many times from many people in many different companies. And I'll get right to it. It is, Dear Strategy, how do I present my strategy to a leader who has a very, and all capitals, very short attention span? Now, of course, we put the all capitals in there because I want to differentiate from people that just, don't have a lot of tolerance for long presentations versus people that have extremely short attention spans. And unfortunately, I have to tell you that many leaders fall into this category. And frankly, a lot of times that's why they're leaders. Now, you say, wait a minute, that's a cop-out, right? That sounds counterintuitive. Good leadership should be that you have the ability to listen. And I completely agree with that, by the way. And we do teach a leadership course. And in that leadership course, it's one of the things that we talk about is you have to actively listen and learn to actively listen. But for a lot of leaders, that's a struggle. And the reason for that is many leaders are multitaskers, right? Part of their leadership strength is their ability to be in a lot of different places at once, either mentally or physically. And not everybody could do that. That is something that is, it's a skill that you actually develop. Some people have it naturally, but it is definitely a trait that is required of many leaders, particularly in large organizations. Their brains are in a lot of different places and they're comfortable in that, right? In fact, they thrive in that. So it shouldn't be surprising that many of those same leaders, especially as you get higher and higher into companies where they have more and more things that they have to be responsible for and thinking about, short attention spans become very common. And so if you're in a position where you are a strategist, a product manager, a marketing manager, somebody else that has to present to one of these short attention span leaders, the question is, what do I do? How do I do that? And, I'll give you the easiest answer here. Obviously be concise. Okay. This, by the way, is not my strength. So I have to tell you that this is not always the easiest thing to do. But if you know that you're going into an audience that has a short attention span, then make sure that you're catering to that right away. Now, the reason this becomes challenging for a lot of people is especially when you are presenting to leaders that maybe don't work with you every day, don't know what you're capable of or not. Maybe you're presenting 2 or 3 or 4 levels above you inside of a company. You're trying to make an impression. And a lot of times we think that the way we make our impression, or positive impression, I should say, is by telling those leaders, that we know everything, right? Or displaying or illustrating to them that we know everything. You want to show that you have a command of the subject. So you give them way more detail than you normally would need to tell your story. And why you're doing that is you're almost trying to justify your position, right? You're trying to prove yourself. And in fact, it's not the way to prove yourself, because what leaders want is not every detail of what you know. Instead, what they want is to feel that you have command of whatever it is that you're presenting. This gets really touchy-feely. I know it can be really difficult to visualize what I'm saying here, but as a leader, now I should say that I have been on both sides of this coin, right? My career is not just as a consultant and, teacher and those types of things. I spent 20 plus years in the corporate world, in obviously positions ranging from application engineering and product management, marketing management, and so forth, as I was coming up through my career, and all the way up into executive leadership positions. I was president of a business unit in a large $2+ billion company. So, definitely see this from both sides. And I could tell you, when I sat in the leadership chair, I didn't want people to prove to me that they knew everything by telling me every single thing that they knew. Instead, I wanted them to present to me confidently, right? And it's something that I could see right away. This isn't something that I could even put my finger on. It's just when somebody gets up and they show to me that they know the material by just being confident in the way they're presenting, being passionate about what they're presenting. When I ask a question, they can answer it really, really well and really, really confidently. Not arrogantly necessarily, because sometimes arrogance is covering up for the fact that you don't know something, but rather just confidently. And you know this, right? As a presenter, when you know something, you know that you're presenting it differently than when you don't. There's no insecurity attached to it. It's like you get up, you tell people what they need to know, and you are ready for anything that comes at you. That's what I want to see as a leader. So I want you to tell me the story in as concise a way as you possibly can. Don't dance around stuff. Don't, over talk things because you really don't know what you're talking about. Just tell me that you know what you're talking about by telling me the story in as concise a way as possible. Be ready for any questions that I have for you, and then let's move on, right? That's what I want as a leader. And you can say that that's because I have a short attention span. I actually don't think that I do have a short attention span, although maybe some people would argue with me. I don't know. But really what it's because I have a lot of other people that I have to hear from. I have a lot of other things that I have to do. I have a lot of other things that are on my mind. So I don't want you to crowd my mind with stuff that I don't need to know. I want you to just tell me what I do need to know and do it in a way that makes me confident that I should believe you and trust you. So that's the main thing. Now, how do you do that, right? Well, there's two main pieces to that. One, make sure you do your homework. If you're presenting something, make sure that you really know what it is you're presenting. And all the things we talk about on this show with strategies and so forth, when you're presenting your strategy, if you've done your analysis on your business, on your market, on your industry, you know your competitors, you know your customers, you know your company, you know the history, you know all of the stuff that your strategy should be founded in. Like, you could just give me the summary of that. And if you really know it, that's going to come through without you telling me every single detail of every single thing you've ever looked up. And then the same thing when you get to the plan part of it, you say, like, these are our goals. This is what we want to accomplish. This is how we're going to accomplish it. And you say that in a confident way, that demonstrates to me that you've done your homework. You're confident in what it is that you're saying. You believe in what you're saying. And therefore, I'm going to believe you too. So you don't have to put a lot of words to it. You don't have to put a lot of slides to it. You just have to tell me the story that you yourself already believe. And that's going to go the longest way that you can. Here's what you shouldn't do. What you shouldn't do is start blaming the leaders. Oh, this person's got a short attention span. Therefore, they're difficult to present to. They're never going to believe me. They're never going to this. And I mean, look, that's like kind of blaming your customer, right? In a way, your customer is who your customer is. If you are providing a service to that customer, in this case, that's what you're doing, you have to deal with what that customer is going to be like. Okay. And what you need to do is adjust to what that customer's needs and preferences are. Otherwise, you can't do business with that customer. And this is the same thing when you're presenting. When you're presenting to an audience, whether it's leaders or other people, that audience is your customer. And they are who they are. So if they happen to have short attention spans, which again, most leaders will, then you have to adjust to that so that you can get your message across in a way that they're going to hear it. And that's the key. I think one of the biggest lessons that I learned in doing many, many, many presentations, and I teach this when we do our presentation skills class, is that the burden of getting the message across is on the presenter, not on the audience. It's not up to the audience to figure out what it is you're presenting. It's up to the presenter to present their material in a way that the audience understands it. The burden is on the presenter, not on the presentee. And that is a big, big takeaway that you should have from this. So the next time you're presenting to someone with a short attention span, first of all, assume that your whole audience has a short attention span. That's probably the best way to approach most presentations, especially in a business environment. The next time you're in that situation, think about how you can tell your story in as concise a way as possible, gets your message across in a confident way without having to reveal all the intricate details. Be ready to answer questions on the intricate details, but start with the high-level summary pieces, right? And the good news is if you've been a regular listener of the show or you want to go back and read all the different blogs we've done on all the different episodes, just type in strategy story, or, in my book, I call it the strategic arc, but we cover this over and over and over again of how you can tell your story in a concise way, in a way that flows, in a way that engages your audience, in a way that's succinct, but without boring them. And then if you're ready to answer any questions that come at you, you're going to have mission accomplished. And I think that's the best advice that I can give to this question. So hopefully that's a helpful answer, and hopefully one that you can apply in your real business situation. And again, if you have a question that you want to be featured on the show, or you just want to have answered for you, go ahead and go to dearstrategy.net. Click on the contact link. That'll take you to a form that allows you to ask a question to be featured on the show, or just ask a question, or just provide feedback, anything you like. And we'll go ahead and respond to you in one way or another. So please go ahead and do that. And while you're doing that, don't forget to make time for the plan. We'll see you back here on another episode of Dear Strategy. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for listening to Dear Strategy with Bob Caporelli. To learn more or to submit a question to be featured on our show, please visit us at dearstrategy.net.